I'm Maria Trival-Peace alongside Rini Ngolia, Lee J. Dusable, and the commissioner of the American Conference, Tim Pernetti. Now, Tim, we've talked to all 14 head coaches, and now we have the pleasure of talking with you.
Best for last? Or what?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Of course. We're saving the best for last. This is now your second American Conference Media Day. You have had quite the year as the commissioner of the American, just from different revenue sharing protocols that you've introduced and so many other things that you have put on your agenda and accomplished so far. So let's start with you, then we'll get to the football in a little bit. But just talk about what it has been like in your first year as a commissioner, a little bit of the behind the scenes.
I think 3 words: so much fun. It really has. And I think the beginning of getting into collegiate athletics is the people around you, because when you interview for a job, you ask the people you trust and whether you have mentors in your career or whatever. And I was pretty much told that I was out of my mind getting back into collegiate athletics. But honestly, that was the thing that really attracted me to it. Was there's so much chaos, there's so much uncertainty, there's very big lack of clarity about the future. And I thought in a climate like that, that's when you get in and you mix it up. And it's just been so much fun. Like, I've actually had way more fun than I thought it was going to be in the first year. And I think that ties to one thing, which is those presidents, like, I went at them pretty hard when I interviewed. And I wanted to know and pull out of them if they really had the stomach to take risk and innovate. And innovation is sort of at the core of why I took the job, because they convinced me. Now, they convince you when you're interviewing, but they have walked that walk with me every step of the way this year. And all the things we've gotten accomplished, like very kind words, there are some great things we've gotten over the line, but I think it's just the beginning. Like, we're just setting the foundation for more innovation, because we're not trying to be anybody else. Like, I know who we are. I don't care who anybody else is. Our path is our path. And instead of thinking about or being distracted by everyone else, let's just have fun, put ideas out there, and mix it up. And the first year has been really fun and rewarding.
Commiss, let's talk about the success the American had in postseason play. Right, you sent 8 teams, went 6-2. You win the Bowl Challenge Cup. Victories over SEC teams, Big 12, ACC. Just talk about the competition in the American Conference when it comes to football.
You got to see the size of this Bowl Challenge Cup trophy. Okay, this thing came in a crate like you wouldn't believe. And by the way, to the people at ESPN, I have no intention of sending that thing. But the performance was great. And you have to remember, too, there's a business side to this. The cycle for bowl games is now coming up. Like, the renewal of the future is coming around the corner. So performing the way we did last year, like, could not have been better time. Right. So 8 teams in the postseason was an excellent result. Being 6-2 and having the best winning percentage overall, great result. And then knocking off 3 autonomy schools along the way, it was just a terrific story. But your question is important because the league has competitive depth. And I think when you watch college football, and you guys live it and breathe it, you know week 6 or 7, you see a game week 8, and you could kind of figure out what's going to happen. I thought so too, and then we became a very unpredictable league. And I think that speaks to the competitive depth that we have. And I don't think this year will be any different. But you mark my words, those coaches, I had dinner with them last night. People have said to me today, well, it would be great if you represented in the college football playoff. I said, no, we expect to be in the college football playoff, and we expect to be broadly represented in the postseason, and not just to get in. Like, we expect to be in and win.
Correct.
And our bowl performance last year couldn't have come at a better time, and I think speaks volumes about the competitive depth of who we are as a league.
Commissioner, as the landscape of college football, it's constantly moving, right? You have to stay on the offensive. Everyone's kind of peeking on conference realignment. It seems like it never ends. Every time you turn around, you got a school floating off doing their conference. A lot of people probably don't know that you introduced performance-based revenue distribution for men's football, or for football and men's basketball. How has that incentivized programs? How have schools taken to that? And I'm assuming a lot of other commissioners, a lot of other conferences are going to go to that.
You can say men's football, by the way, because there's women's flag football.
Well, there you go. That's true. And so it's going to be an Olympic sport.
As usual, you're a step ahead.
There's women's tackle football as well, just in case anybody's wondering.
It's all coming. The world's changing. Performance-based revenue sharing and minimum investment were like day one priorities. And what I'd say is I don't think I've ever had to work harder and build more consensus than I did around minimum investment. Because here's the reality. House is settled. We know what it means. We know what the cap is. There will be more litigation around House. But we felt really strongly that this was a league that needed to continue to differentiate from everybody else. So when I introduced the concept of minimum investment, the idea was we're not going to restrict anybody from sharing as much as they can possibly share. But we're going to have a minimum standard in this league. We're going to send a message to the industry and to student athletes that we're serious about commitment and investment in their success. If there's more we can do for student athletes, we're going to do it. It wasn't an easy conversation because, listen, some presidents are laying people off on the academic side. They're challenged by applications and enrollment. But what I've said to them all along is, this thing is your single strongest marketing arm. Investment in it creates visibility. And by the way, more sports, more athletes, more visibility, more applications, more enrollment, more tuition. So I think we just have to get our arms around the fact that people love to talk about college athletics being broke, but it's a marketing investment. Like, that's what you're making. Show me a business that hasn't made a marketing investment at a deep level to try to grow their business. This was historic because we're the only conference still. We did it 6 months ago. To this day, we're the only one that's done it. And our coaches, I know in particular, have said to me, this is going to change the game for how we bring talent to our programs.
You know, you talked a lot about shaking things up, and we just had the brand modernization. I know Lige in particular wants some SOAR merch, but how do you want...
You just give me your size.
I got it.
The whole suit. Why not?
I'm excited to see SOAR in person, but what do you want people to feel when they see this brand modernization and this American brand that you want to just put on display for everyone to kind of embrace?
I want people to feel energized, number one. And then number two is we want people to be so energized that they want to be in business with us. I mean, I think that's really what it is, because when the brand exercise took a year. You know, people are like, oh, how does this stuff happen? How long did you spend? I said it took a year. It was intentional. It was thoughtful. But where we landed was the goal was to be clear about who we are. And then the idea of SOAR, you know, I said this in my speech. I was very skeptical of this in the beginning. And then I'm saying, oh, you know, what is this thing? Is it a mascot? But the more we went into it, we said, okay, number one, nobody's doing it. And that put me on the hook. Number two, it doesn't have to be a mascot. It's a symbol. And we're the American. What's an American symbol that builds broad-based interest? And then we were like, it can have a life. It can be a content creator. It can be a commercial asset. Like, I know our American Rise Ventures team, they're already out there talking about getting SOAR a shoe deal. I mean, this thing is 5 days old.
Okay, yes.
Right? But in general, Maria, I think it's a strong, bold symbol of who we are. And I think we can really have fun with it by being first and helping it use the asset to grow our commercial business. But I've said to every brand that has reached out to me about this, because I've heard from everybody, I've heard from other commissioners about it. What I've said to the brands is, if you got an innovative idea, this is my number. I want to be your first phone call.
And you talk about innovative ideas, and you briefly just mentioned it, but tell us a little bit more about the American Rise Ventures and your idea behind that and how it eventually came to fruition as well.
I think, again, I'm using differentiating a lot in this interview, but differentiating who we are. College athletics, many people have moved towards third parties to manage their commercial rights. And I actually ran a business that did that at IMG College, which, you know, merged with Learfield. But as we looked at it, and we're looking at potential private capital partners, the thing you want to have the ability to do is roll up as many of your rights in one place as possible. And by rolling up our commercial assets in American Rise Ventures, we have something that, like, we made an intentional decision to start over. Like, we have no conflicts. We made that decision intentionally. That will be a business line that doesn't exist, that will grow to a $5 to $10 to $20 million annual book of business. It's more revenue to share with our members. And as I talk to private capital partners that want to invest in us and say, where's the growth? I'll say, here's the growth.
I love that. Now, I know Lige has a couple more football questions, so I'll let him jump in, and then I'll come back to you on this one.
We talked about it earlier, the competitiveness of the American Conference. You guys were one of 5 leagues to have at least 3 teams have double-digit wins or more. That says not only are you strong in conference, but you're winning your non-conference games. Just explain, when teams sign up to play the American Conference, talk about how hard it's going to be for them. There's no easy wins on the schedule when you sign up an American team.
If you're going to play our conference, you better pack a lunch. Like, it's going to be a long day. And I'm not saying that every game will be close, that we'll win every game, but regardless of the score, like, we're going to fight until the last play. It's almost like you think about your playing experience. I told Coach Newberry this. When I was in college and we played against the academies, we had pretty good success. But, man, they fought your rear end to the last play.
You were beat up that next week.
You were hurting for a week, and they fought you to the last play. That's the way our league plays. So I think what people can expect is a long day. They can expect a tough, gritty, hardworking bunch of people. Like, we're not going to be a flashy league. It's not slick in any way. It's a strong, tough league. So I think they can expect that. 2 is they can expect depth and quality of coaching. Like, we have excellent coaches in this league.
Yeah.
We've got some young guys in this league.
yeah.
Coach Munkin said to me today, he's like, hey, Trey Lamb told me he's been coaching 11 years. He's like, I've been in the Army for 12.
He told us.
Yeah, so
the
we've got
same
some young
thing.
talent, but the energy that they're bringing to the table, I think, is really, really important. And, you know, those 2 things in particular are really the focus of, like, what you'll get when you line up. And the other one you already asked, like, competitive depth.
Yeah.
I don't think you can line up against our conference and be like, hey, let's schedule these guys, because I thought I had games figured out the last 4 weeks of the season, and it turned on its head. But we had 4 schools in the national conversation in late November.
Correct.
Like, you know, you have competitive depth when that's where you land at the end of the season.
Got to ask you about the House settlement. You mentioned it a second ago, and you talked about it in your remarks, and I agree with you. There's good stuff in there, and there's some stuff that's not the greatest. And you talked about opportunities. It's all about giving opportunities. The one thing I think that drives a ton of coaches nuts was that roster limitation on 105. Isn't that something that really next year they could fix that? They could go back to 125 or 130. Isn't that something that can be amended?
I don't think you've seen the last version of this. You know, I think what's been approved and been settled with House, it's definitely an historic step.
Yeah.
But like I said in my speech, this thing is not perfect and it's not flawless.
Yeah.
So I think with everything, whether it's the CFP or House or the transfer, everything needs to be a work in progress.
Sure.
Right? We need to be evaluating things all the time. But there are some good things in-house.
Yeah.
But there also are some things that I think will be a huge challenge. The roster thing is some sports are getting less roster spots.
Correct.
And others are getting more roster spots. But I actually think the institutions that have responded to House by reducing are missing the opportunity. Because the institutions need more students, more tuition, more enrollment. Like, listen to this stat. I saw this the other day. My friends at IMG Academy, Brent Richard, my former partner there, and I were talking. There's $30 billion being spent in youth sports today. And that number, if you looked at the 5-year trend, it's going up and up and up.
Yep.
50% of the kids that go to high school in this country play a sport. 7% play in college. So now you're at the point where if you create more roster spots,
More opportunity.
and you create more sports, kids will pay the full freight to play. They just want to play. So what I said in my speech was really a message to the entire industry. Like, let's stop retreating on litigation.
Yeah.
Let's embrace the opportunity to add. Like, let's give more kids an experience that we all had that shaped us as people, right? There's no reason to go backwards. Like, let's not deprive. And university president, you're concerned about investment in athletics? I'm going to bring you more full-paying students. Like, that's a real important thing that we need to focus on.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think you bring up a good point of just the fact how so many people have benefited from this and gone on to have careers, even in sports and other areas as well. And you talk about your speech at the podium today. A year ago, you stood there and you talked about branding and commercialization. And so how do you think the American has lived up to what your vision was when you first became the commissioner?
Well, the thing about vision is you really have to convince yourself first. You know, because people have said, and listen, I've been really lucky. I've had all these fun jobs, and I never thought I'd have a job like this. Literally, I never thought I would. So I feel lucky every day. But I think leadership is about vision and having the guts to make tough decisions. But you have to be true to your vision. Like, you're going to question it more than you're going to believe in it. But you have to have the guts to make tough decisions. It was a difficult decision to convince schools to make a minimum investment of $10 million. It was difficult to say, you know what? We're not going to take the guarantee in the market on our commercial rights. We're going to bet on ourselves, and we're going to spend more money to make more money. Visions don't come to fruition overnight. I would argue that, you know, and I don't know if I have this many years left in me, but if I was commissioner of this league for 25 years, I'd say you'd probably still be asking me that question then about how is the vision playing out. But the only way vision works is if you have alignment.
Yeah.
And what I like about our league is we're aligned. And listen, Memphis and realignment and all that stuff aside, we're aligned in where we're going. Listen to coaches today. They're energized by the fact that we're innovating, breaking glass, being first, having guts, all of those things. But vision is something that it's okay to question it. Because much like the House settlement, like, my vision day one might look a little different year 2 and might look a little different year 5.
That makes complete sense. The American aligned, gritty, and tough, and I think you've exemplified that in your tenure here so far, Commissioner Pernetti. So thank you so much for joining us here on set today.
Thank you guys for all you do.
Thanks,
Appreciate you
Commissioner.
being here.
Appreciate you, Coach.